Hello and welcome back. My name is Faye, and you are with Your Heart's Path. We're going to explore some psychic and intuitive messages for the month of November. And whilst this is a bit of a collective read, I'm going to invite you to approach this as though we're sitting in the room together, though I am reading for you personally. What that will do will allow for your own intuition to come online. You will be able to have greater discernment as to which bits resonate with you, which bits don't. But it can also offer a little bit of an internal awakening. Sometimes for some of you, that's clarity. You've already gotten these messages. You're in the feels of the information and how it's already moving you. So it can give you confidence too with the direction of your life. But we're all here on this beautiful spiritual path. It's the year of the snake, and we have just had initiation after initiation when it comes to transformation. And this is a great month of surrender and change. We do have some astrological pressures. Whilst I'm not an astrologer, my guides do show me when the planets are having a greater effect, where they sort of start to create patterns in our matrix that, again, can offer us space for healing and transformation, and growth. And I kind of feel like when I'm looking at the month of November, we're really looking at a deep ego surrender and creating space for more of your true self to come through. For some of you, that's going to feel quite cataclysmic. It's only going to feel that way if you've had these intuitive sort of um, insights, breadcrumbs coming through your life as this year has unfolded. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, and this often can just be fear, and it's normal to experience some sort of resistance when you're on the great precipice of change, to sort of, it's almost like you've been shelving these intuitive prompts and it's kind of like this feeling of like, I'll deal with it later. I do kind of see the dominoes unfolding here, and I'm looking at this like divine intervention. For some of you, this is a little softer, meaning you might not need to be injured or fired or dumped in order to grasp this data. That sounds really intense, but it really can be for some of you. And if it is, this is the biggest blessing of your life. This is like the change you really are looking for. So it's kind of like divinity, source, God can take care of some of those aspects for you. And it kind of like I'm getting this vision of just like floating down the river. Just kind of breathe, let it take you where it's been trying to take you. You really can't miss this beautiful opportunity here. So, those of you that had kind of been like working with this and leaning in, and you're kind of like looking for that breakthrough, I see this, but it's almost like it's like a reshaping of your, they show me like these tiny little threads, almost like spider webs, where the beliefs in our own programming create structures in our reality where we then flow through, right? So it's almost like some of these structures are coming undone. I can actually see some of you being quite surprised by the beliefs that you are running your life that you uncover this month. I feel like some of you have been listening to your ego and perceiving it as your heart's voice. And there's this like, I get it moment. I'm kind of seeing like the jaw drop, the eyes like super wide. With that, we need to be very mindful of like freezing, fawning. Um, I don't want to say hiding because for some of you, I think the cocoon can be really healthy. Just making sure that we don't get like frozen stuck in this. Sometimes that light or that epiphany can be like super overwhelming, and we need a little bit of support in order just to accept. The heart is where we're going to kind of find that beautiful acceptance. But I want you to really notice this month just notice how energy moves through your body. Notice temperature, notice sensation, notice emotion, notice your physical body and how it's talking to you um, through the cycle of a day. For some of you, like your aches and pains and things like ankles and knees and joints and stuff, like there's messages in there for you. And I kind of feel like I want you paying attention to some of that stuff because it can too give you the wisdom that allows for some of these beliefs not just to unfold and kind of implode, but where we want to rewrite these structures from a level of consciousness that is more loving. Let's look at creating our life from a place of heart. There's this sort of like in the background, I gain this sense of like I've been hearing these words in the back of my own head, like I just want to be fearless. I don't want to be held down by fear anymore. It's almost this feeling of I'm gonna say it like I was almost like frustration with the time wasted, with the rumination, with the repetition, with the same thing day in, day out, and not seeing any change in the physical environment. I believe that there's like a bit of a bridge crossing here. There's an opportunity for some of you to really start to who have kind of collected back their own power. When I'm looking at like authority, perhaps authority was given externally. It's like a reclamation of that authority. And that might be the higher self, it might be the heart, it might be light, it's sort of like truth, a different kind of direction, but not really knowing yet how to communicate with that inner authority. I feel like some of you are even contemplating like my relationship with God, like what's real, what's true, who and what do I even have faith in? And I'm really going to encourage you to go down those roads and down that path because I do believe this is a sort of a crossing time where it's like we're on the boat and we're on the water and we're moving or you're floating in the river and it's kind of like the trust fall because we're moving from one place to another or one state of being or one dimension into another, and this is a crossing point. We need faith and we need trust in ourselves that everything is going to be okay so as that we don't fall too deep under the water and kind of like go unconscious through this transition period. If you find things really wobbly, bring about this imagery of the boat. Notice how the water's moving in your landscape, in your circumstance, in your life. If it's throwing you here, there, and everywhere, it's a nice time to bunker in, to just come in and breathe, to make sure you've got enough water, that you're moving your body, that you're in your body, right? And then they're going to be moments where it can feel like super stuck and stagnant and still. And you're like, right, I need to bring a little bit more movement. What energy is through my body and my being? Can I cycle? Can I let go of? Can I animate, energize, release? And I want you to track the water. I want you to track the water and how it's moving and then notice how you are responding. The response doesn't need to be your forever outcome. This is sort of feels like what we're changing here, but we're changing it in the moment. There's been a lot of data, a lot of collection of information, how to do things better, how to restructure this course on this thing, and now it's application mode. So you're going to be triggered, you're going to be poked, you're going to be tested, and you're going to be given these opportunities where you have like times can slow right down where you have this opportunity to place in these structures, these beautiful new beliefs that come from this higher, more informed part within your being, where there is going to be challenge points that give you the opportunity to begin to do things differently, less reactive, more responsive. We've talked about some of these themes a lot this year. So I actually think that this is a really beautiful time, but it's also a time when you need to be really forgiving. The inner child feels like it's thrashing around a little bit. I also see some emphasis on like the teenager, unmet needs. I can kind of see like where the roots of some of these belief systems have come in. I think there are lots of topics, individual contemplations around self-worth, around love as like an exchange. So we're looking at the conditions to love. And I think that this is woven in through those topics and conversations that come in through some of those lower chakras that are really getting a big upgrade when it comes to um, our collective world, like seeing us as a whole. Our base chakra and our sacral chakra have been squeezed, turned, twisted, and morphed. And I'm kind of starting to see that where I'm looking at this topic of the ego this month, that energy is starting to build up into the solar plexus. It's also where we find the element of fire. It's also where we're starting to look at our own internal power, where we're looking at confidence, where we're looking at building self-esteem, but it's something that needs a tenderness. And perfect in this moment where we have a lot of water going through Scorpio season to really start to learn how to like support our own fire. I almost can see like the old way of like being initiated or taught if we were living off the land of like how to create a fire. Like there would have been someone or people that were, it was their job and their responsibility and their role to keep the fire going. I sort of sense that this is like a theme that we have this memory inside of the body. And if you have the ability to see that symbolically in your life at the moment, that is kind of the month of November here. Fire is a really beautiful element. We do need to be mindful of our conditions or our environment because if it's super windy, things need to be dropped back down to coals. We need to make sure that embers aren't blowing off into other parts of our life and starting fires where it's unnecessary. It's also a time though where temperatures and things can be fluctuating and there's a listening. So there's this slowing down and listening to what's going on inside, how things are showing up externally, and then I'm going to make a conscious decision as how I respond. Those who have experienced burnout this year are going to feel a little fire come back in the system, and there can be a tendency to move very quickly, kind of like the cheetah. And I'm saying like slow, as in the animal, slow right down. See if you can find a trot versus a sprint. Um, but this crossing and this beautiful water utilizes your vision and your symbol, brings about this, it's like an opening for a higher power. I feel like conversations around God, around the higher self, of divinity, of love, of soul. Like, what does that even mean? I sort of feel like we're looking more at essence. We're looking at the conversations that we're having with those higher power. So, prayer would be really awesome right now. Conversations with God would be really awesome right now. Looking at your resistance and your disbelief in a higher power right now and where that energy then goes. What are you giving authority to? That's sort of like a question of curiosity I'm exploring here. Um, but this is a work, it's a month of, and it's been a whole year, obviously, of transformation, but there's some beautiful opportunities when it comes to our own shadow work here, because we have this resilience and this kind of current in our conditions with from the weather to the astrological aspects to the elements that are governing our reality right now, where we have a sort of a sense of security that if we go under the water right now, but we can remember that there is purpose in this, that it is teaching us something, that you will be given the light to see what's going underneath so as that you can gather that information and you'll be able to apply it very readily. So this is like an awakening in a sense. When we surrender the ego, we create more space for the true self to come through. So that can mean like a change in hobbies, that can mean a change in drive, it can be a change in relationships. Your preferences can sort of change this month. I also feel like this is a really beautiful opportunity um, to illumination, like to illuminate kind of what's been hiding underneath. Again, this can be emotionally challenging. Sometimes it almost feels like the ears hurt, like the truth can be hard to hear. But I do kind of see digestion speeding up, our capacity to be able to accept the truth is kind of like being supported by these conditions, and it will take us to a place where we feel more real. Boom, 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 boom. That's like the feeling I really love this month. I also kind of sense this like in conversations, you can feel really open, like there can be a beautiful sense of vulnerability. And instead of going home and feeling super hungover, there's like this feeling of satisfaction because there's been honest, real, and true connection. And so this fearlessness that I can see that is like it's coming in as a theme, this direction towards fearlessness, understanding what it really means to be afraid and the consequences that that has on your life versus transmuting that fear into love and operating from that space. What would it mean if you weren't afraid? What would it mean? And where is that energy hiding? And what structures has it created that shape the way that you see life, that limit your possibilities? And I kind of feel like, yes, this can be challenging, but it's also, they just drop down snakes and ladders in front of my eyes. It's sort of like if you get this right now, you can upgrade really quickly. There's like passageways through, there's portals to a higher dimension, this ladder from one dimension to another. It has the opportunity to be like really fully formed, where you've got higher senses or dimensions within your being able to come in and support this transformation from one state of being to another, coming into a higher state of being. So we're looking at truth, we're looking at integrity, we're looking at honesty. And this is also weaved into health. My sense with the emotional aspect and the emotional nature of this month, which again can be celebrated and has like this opportunity to like cry out the tears that you've been holding in, to let go of the tension you've been carrying in your body, to say what it is that you've needed to say, to not overcomplicate things, but just allow for this energy to flow. We've got movement here. And we have all of this, like this current is giving us the best opportunity to wash out our filters, our empathy gateways, to really clear up the way that we perceive life, how we relate to life. I think this is still a lot of relational energy. And it's going to start to show us how we're showing up, how we're showing up for ourselves, how we're showing up for other people. There's a reframe on community here too. I actually read something in a book. I got gifted, it's sitting right next to me, The Courage to Be Disliked. I got gifted this by my brother this month, and I just thought it was absolutely beautiful. And there was this line yesterday that I read about community. And having a sense of community isn't given to you. It's not something that you're just born into. It's something that you contribute to. And as a byproduct, you feel that sense of community. And so this doesn't have to be community as in like the town or the suburb in which you're living in. For some of you, this is an online community. Perhaps it's a community like Your Heart's Path or the House of Mystics, or, it can be these kinds of communities as well as our global community. And I kind of feel like being able to imagine or see the whole world or the whole globe and your contribution to the whole right now is to something that can be super nourishing. It can feel like a bit of a bypass when people say things like, well, if you're in your light, you're contributing in some way. But when you understand the nature of how each and every little cell that we are, kind of contribute to this beautiful organism, you will know, you will understand, you will see, you'll perceive, and you'll be driven to take care of yourself, knowing that the healthier you are, the more truth, like the more readily you can follow through with your own soul contracts and all the rest of it, that you are participating in the greater whole. And I think some people have realized, and us, myself included, our own thoughts can be viruses that we emit into this world that we then got to be responsible for clearing up. And so I do see this like greater responsibility for self, um, and what we are contributing, what we're not contributing, and where we have these opportunities to realize and take action from a more heart-centered space and what that actually means. Vanity is something that's dropping in. I kind of see that this like mirage, this glamour, they're showing me like a mirror and it's like moving where illusions are fading. I can see this glass like almost like cracking as I'm talking about it, where alternative realities that you might have been energizing or fantasizing or believing that you should be or could be. It's like the illusions are kind of shattering right now. Again, that can be something that's quite shocking in the system. So it's really important that we're working with that sensory body, that you're tuning in with this every day and sort of saying, like, hey, what is it that I need? Like, what's the conditions today? It doesn't feel like a hugely big time to be planning like way into the future, but if you are having these beautiful ideas come in, just write them down. It can be that there's like the idea drops in and then the information comes in later. like almost emphasizing that breadcrumbing way of being. And if we listen to one breadcrumb, we'll get the next breadcrumb and then the next breadcrumb and on it goes. Same card again. I want to look at your spiritual practice because this is something I heard before. If your spiritual practice doesn't involve your spirit, it's time that we kind of let that in. Mapping your matrix, I'm running a course actually in next month. That could be something worth considering. We're just kind of giving voice to and kind of taking what this spiritual path is, what the soul is, what the spirit is, what the body is, what's the purpose of the mind, what's the emotions, where do they exist, how do we access them, how do we navigate them, and how do we get them all to work in unison so as that my spiritual practice is not up in my head, so as that I'm not governed just by my emotions, so as that I'm not looking at the physical reality as though it is all truth. We're wiring ourselves and placing our attention, our energy in particular spots within the being and utilizing your power and your ability to start to direct your energy so as that it can complement you, allowing for your soul to really and your essence to come through, but also so you can start to look at like contribution, direction, start to be able to make empowered decisions and choices because stuckness and stagnancy is just not going to happen. And I really see like divine intervention happening in places where there's just been so much resistance, and I understand fear in moving forward. Again, I think a lot of those keys lie within the inner child. And there's a maturation or an integration point taking place here where I think we need a lot of tenderness and a lot of care. And it can go right back to that place of like being on the bosom, you know, and like having your head on your own mother's chest and like feeling her heartbeat and like listening, like hearing her pain and her grief and already taking that and wiring it through your nervous system. So I almost look at the mother right now too. Changes with the relationship with the mother, changes in mothering, conversations around that. As an archetype, I'm seeing her and like Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene and the Rose and the Rosary and all these other like kind of pieces coming through as kind of like a bit of an essence this month. I can see the blue gown, almost like a blue robe, almost like a symbolically, I'm kind of looking at this like an initiation process. When we were speaking of the ladders between, and I'm getting a little complicated here, so I'm going to sort of slow down. When we're looking at crossing a bridge between dimensions within our own inner being, I would look at this as the crossing between the heart and the throat. So that gateway or that bridge seems to me that for some of you it is opening. That is a space where if you don't yet have connection to your higher self, it's sort of the support that you might need. So perhaps you do consider something like mapping your matrix or educate yourself on what the themes are within the throat chakra, what the themes are within the heart chakra, how those two systems operate and facilitate the way that you perceive life and how you navigate life, and where you can kind of start to map in your own experience and what transformation is taking place in your life, and where you can see those themes being initiated or upgraded so that you can connect more deeply with this power in here. And I'm pointing to my throat. Discernment, this is the space of will, this is the place of true expression, this is authenticity, but it's also vibration, ether. We're looking at uh, before something manifests, it starts a sound and vibration. So again, something super soothing would be like toning. Go to your events where there is music involved, sing, sound healing, mantras, sometimes less chitter chatter. Like the ego's just been kind of going wild, right? So when we surrender that, sometimes we just want this place of silence where we're just listening, mapping out a little moment each day to listen could be the thing that brings you into alignment. And sometimes we're just waiting for those little pockets to kind of open through our day to day and our busy lives, and oh, it'll just show up. And sometimes those breadcrumbs do. But something beautiful starts to happen when you carve out that space for your spirit and your soul to come through. But remember, some of the laws that govern these plans are will. You got to ask. So, God, source, divinity, who is it that you believe in? Come through, show me the way. Be my eyes, give me the ideas that I need, show me what needs healing, reveal the beliefs that no longer serve me. How can I contribute to humanity? What is my soul contract right now? Go deeper, go deeper, go deeper, go deeper. We're able to carve this out right now. The butterfly effect is like it's happening through November and December. I kind of sense this feeling whilst none of this work ought to be done from a space where there's a feeling of reward, some of you are actually going to be experiencing that. And the reward is almost this feeling of just like being at home. It's a sense of purpose, it's a sense of selflessness. It comes through as courage. It reveals itself as strength, having the capacity to be there for other people, patience, presence. This is sort of the reward for the work that you've been doing behind the scenes. And this shift from relational energy and creativity and sensuality and sexuality, it's there, but it's coming up the channel now. So you could say it's like it's rising up, and we're kind of in that zone where we're going to be very aware of themes of the solar plexus. This is that upgrade is what can help facilitate this courage and this change from in bridging the heart up toward the throat too. So we're looking at more of a full alignment. I'd be surprised if this doesn't arrive all the way at the space of like vision, by kind of January, February, where we start to really as a collective see the world, experience the world in a very new light. Okay, but I've just pulled the buffalo card, which is really nice and slow, right? It's like finding that lovely, majestic momentum where we're being very mindful in our decisions. But it also takes, courage. There's a mystical lens that comes through with this. Those beautiful sea creatures that, swim beneath the boat in the deep blue seas that use their sonar and vibration for communication, would be really beautiful, supportive spirit animals to invoke or connect with at this time. Same with like seabirds, turtles, starfish, things that you find around the ocean or by the riverbeds, things like crabs. There are messages in all of these animals at this time. And overall, I sort of feel that this shift of surrendering the ego to the higher self this month creates more space for your true self to come through. By December, we'll be making new decisions, and redirecting our energy from that inner authority versus being influenced by our fears. And that's a really nice way to sum up this month. Any other final messages before we pack this up today? Medicine Shield Protection is the card that I've just pulled. It's got a beautiful picture of an eagle on the front with lots of feathers. For those of you who are looking at the visual, you can have a look at the card there. I always see this as I'm looking at the picture and image as sort of like an opening. You can see this kind of conversation we've been having around direction. I'm going to go to the beak for the yellow, the beautiful solar plexus as confirmation, that we're moving into this space where we're kind of going through a bit of a portal here. There's a big transformation and change. I feel drawn to have a look at the base chakra, like right at the root of the spine here, and protecting your own hold on. I want to say, like, protecting your own spirit, protecting your own energy because of the nature of this month. You're not the only one going through these challenges. When we're going through something like this, and everybody is feeling quite emotional, everybody's kind of had that experience of having a very busy mind. There's pressure from our conditions. There's some fires are going to get out of control. There's kind of this feeling where we're not all going to get this like right away. So that doesn't mean avoiding other people or hiding away or closing off from, but it does mean that it's a time to really have discernment, and place your protection around your field. Get to know your beautiful boundary, and familiarize yourself with where it is that you're spending your time. We've had a lot of you have had some awareness around where you are dissociating. When you are dissociating, check in and ask yourself why, where it is that you're going, how you can come back, and the vice or the thing, or whether it's a phone or a habit or just a habit or an addiction of a particular thought that takes you outside of this present moment. Take some awareness there, and then ask for protection around your field, above, below, throughout, and around you throughout the whole duration of your day. And your greatest form of protection, it is always going to be grounding, but it's also having self-knowledge, knowing who you are, the difference between your energy and somebody else's, recognizing when you're merging, recognizing which part of your body is currently governing your reality, and choosing to exist from a heart-centered space. These are all the things that I'm going to be teaching and sharing with you in the Mapping Your Matrix. I'll pop a little link to the course there if that's something that's called to you. It's just 4 parts, so it'll be through the month of the second part of November and the first 2 weeks of December. It's on a Sunday from 3 till 5, Hobart, Tasmania time. And it's just a couple of hours. There's some guided meditations. You also get a reading included in the course that you can use within the next 12 months. So a nice little test and taster, different to the House of Mystics. It's not a full-blown psychic awakening. This is just a bit of an initiation to build a really healthy relationship with your intuition, and start to direct your energy from that space of unity, meaning bringing your body, your mind, your spirit, and your soul into a space where they're operating as one. And you have the ability to do this. There's just different laws that we need to be aware of, and things that we can do on the daily to operate from that higher state within our being. Lots of love to you. I know this is a big month. It's been a huge, big year. The year of the snake is all about transformation. It's all about change. So trust the unfolding. If you're being tested right now, if you've had that feeling of loss, or you've been letting go, or you're feeling afraid, it's okay to have support in this, but it's also really important that we trust the unfolding of this. I can say personally that some of my most challenging experiences in this life, I really just didn't feel like I was going to get through, have been the ones that they're like the gifts that keep on giving. We can still now extract wisdom from experiences that happened 10 years ago that did involve suffering and stress and sacrifice in a way, but from a higher perspective, we can see the perfection in all of that. There's sometimes just reminding yourself that you've gotten through hard things before, you can do it again, is enough to kind of just give you that momentum. So sail smoothly. I'm here if you need me. One-on-one sessions are available. Go and check out the Mapping Your Matrix, and I will see you next month. Lots of love.